It's all out of control.
Alright, let's look through this while we're in queue for World vs. World. SotO Reacts live balance preview. Here we go. Alright, January 30th balance update preview. Hey everyone, welcome to the preview for January 30th balance update. As a goal, always the goal of previewing these changes is to gather feedback. Before live release, we'll be following the conversation, making further adjustments as needed. CalCMC code and skills and balance lead. No problem. This update is a smaller set of changes intended to address outliers that came out of November balance patch update. Interesting, plus a handful of changes to prepare for new weapons. Due to the smaller nature of this update, there won't be an accompanying live stream. Probably a good time. I'd rather them use their time to actually do stuff. Be previewing changes to the new weapons themselves at a later date. Interesting, this update will only include changes to existing skills traits, and we'll be working on the next round update that is currently scheduled for mid-March. I'd hope they're already working on it. Yeah. General. As with November update, this update also includes improvements for sun underperforming relics. Interesting. Relic of Kakarosa lower the healing multiplier in PvP and World vs. World. Relic of the Flock now heals instead of granting barrier. Exhaling is converted to barrier. That's cool. Relic of Resistance now triggers when using a healing skill instead of an elite skill. Reduce the resistance from that, but reduce the cooldown drastically. Quite cool. That means you can have almost 50% uptime if you build 100% resistance if you have that short a healing skill. So I guess mantras. Pretty solid. Relic of the Pack also grants Might and Fury to affected allies. I'm going to have to look up what Relic of the Pack does, because Relic of the Pack... I remember what the old rune does because it was amazing, and obviously still amazing, but after using an elite skill. So Super Speed will also grant Might and Fury to affected allies. That's pretty mediocre, but we'll see. Relic of Durability also grants Resolution. Great. Don't care. Relic of the Weaver no longer has an internal cooldown. So when they take cooldowns off of stuff, that's kind of the biggest thing they can do. So let's see what Relic of the Weaver does. This has an 8-second cooldown. Using a stance skill, increase strike damage for a duration. That's actually kind of nuts for Weaver, because this is a 10% damage increase, even though the duration's only 4 seconds. So that's going to be pretty big. Kind of scared for more power creep in PvP with that. Relic of Dagger, projectile fired. Relic now dazes enemies as strikes, reduce the warm-up duration. Cool. Citadel, reduced it. Crate, reduced the casting time. Nightmare, reduced the casting time. Wizard Sour, reduced the casting time, essentially. Elementalist changes the hammer. In November, pushed condition builds for Tempest and Weaver a bit higher than we'd like, so we're making tweaks to bring those builds back in line. PvE changes, nothing really to note there. Condition Hollowsmith and Power Scrapper, a bit overtuned. Cool. Guardian, support Firebrand still isn't quite the level we'd like to see in PvP. Making improvements in this update, so we rework Radiant Fire to be a little less dependent on always having pistol skills. I'm just going to scroll down to the one I care about. No fixes for any of the current problems with Warriors. So currently, Heightened Focus triggers off of or resets Berserk mode. It resets Berserk mode. It doesn't reset your Primal Bursts. Currently, the trait that gives Fury on weapon swap has a 15-second cooldown instead of a 4-second cooldown, even though it says 4 seconds in the patch notes, so no one knows what the crap that's supposed to do. They drastically reduced the ferocity that the elite skill or the Grandmaster was supposed to give, but that's fine. They actually listed that. Blade Sworn is still catastrophically broken, but I didn't expect a tiny patch like this to fix it anyway. If they did, I would cry, because that would be inefficient. Pretty much every warrior change they put in. What's the one that gives you Might and Fury that no longer has a cooldown? Heat the Soul doesn't work, as you'll see on my Berserker build if I run it properly. It's like 50% of the time if you throw down a Scorched Earth or a whatever the other one is, Fan of Fire, it will just not trigger Heat the Soul and won't give you the Might or your allies the Might. If you cast it too fast, well, basically while one of the previous AoEs is still pulsing, so none of the warrior changes they put in the last patch actually work, plus everything Captain Crapface continuously complains about, so, you know, that's good. It's good to see that they're completely ignoring all of that. But again, maybe it, you know, gotta keep hoping for the rework of warrior completely in, you know, 2046. Anyway, engineer. Went over that. Guardian, Radiant Fire no longer grants Zealot's Flame when critically striking an enemy. This is what they've been complaining about for literally ever. This is great. Instead grants additional ammunition to Zealot's Flame. This trait also causes Zealot's Flame to inflict additional burning to enemies in PvE. This is the best change. Best change. Best change for PvE, Guardian, period. All of the Guardians always complain about this. Apparently my queue popped and I'm an idiot, but that's fine. All of the PvE Guardians complain about this all the time. I disagree, Maddie. I think this change is great. I don't play Guardian, I play Guardian, I don't main it, but this change makes your doing your rotation a nightmare, and this is much better. And now they can actually balance Condition Guardian around this. And Sergio, I'm not seeing Willbender nerfs. No, like I was talking about it a little bit earlier. Also, what's up, dude? I think Willbender in World vs. World right now is just so oppressive because it has Alacrity. If it didn't have Alacrity or didn't have Alacrity on a minor trait and it was still Grandmaster, so it competed with the like plus 20% damage trait they get for free, it would be fine. So I'd like to just see Alacrity get turned into Resolution, or maybe have a less duration base. I think that's really the only problem with Willbender. I think it's fine being just Mobile Thief with stability without stealth. There's ways to kill it. It's just annoying as fuck. All right. This is a great change, Radiant Fire, though. I really like this. Soaring Devastation, the movement speed granted by this trait, no longer removed when Resolve is on cooldown. That's pretty big for Dragon Hunter. Mantra of Solace, reduce the movement cooldown from 30 to 24 seconds in PvP. Mantra of Liberation, Ammunition Charge, Azure Sun. It also heals affected allies. The increased cooldown from 8 to 15 seconds. Cool. Igniting Burst, the skill now a blast finisher. Very neat. So you can throw down that big fire field and then ignite burst it to give your allies and yourself some might. Reduce the casting time. Shining River, reduce the casting time. Very cool. Merciful Intervention. This is actually big because you can use this one kind of as a mini stun break. It's going to be interesting. Merciful Intervention is already a good skill because it doesn't have a cast time, although it isn't a true stun break. And reducing the cooldown from 32 to 25, and also increase the radius, reduce the healing. In World vs. World, reduce the healing coefficient. Okay, so they bring the healing on it down, but it's a little bit to compensate for that reduced cooldown. They're really chunking down here. So, Maddie, I'm fine with this as a mini balance patch. I think this is good. Reversal of Fortune, fixed an issue. Mini balance patches aren't meant to have sweeping functionality changes. Reversal of Fortune fixed an issue that prevented the skill from healing while in the air. Good. Hopefully they can change the issue while you can't swap Gunsaber in the air. Prevented the skill from triggering on heal effects. Neat. Condition Mirage's damage outputs getting toned down after it landed way too high with the changes. RIP, Condition Mirage, it was relevant for literally like one patch. That was good. I'm glad I made those videos about it. Right, and supportive mantras also getting minor usability improvements to prepare for the release of the rifle. Lingering Thoughts, reduce the number of world finishers by half. That's a lot. Lacerating Chop, reduce the clone condition durations 3 seconds to 1 second. It's nice that this is only PvE, because Axe still kind of sucks compared to Dagger in PvP in World vs. World. Mantra of Pain, that's weird. Mantra of Pain's the one that does damage, and they're increasing the radius and no longer, I guess, making it ground targeted? That's interesting. So you have to play with snap target if you want to just nuke people out of space. Mantra of Recovery, that's one I use. I already think it's great. Mantra of Resolve, increasing range of mantras. Mantra of Distraction no longer requiring your target's interesting, because that's the one that dazes. Split Second, increase the cooldown from 12 seconds to 15 seconds World vs. World. I suppose that's the Snapback? No, it's the Shatter on Chronomancer. Illusionary Membrane, reduced condition damage from 10 to 7%, so that's basically just a numbers change. Expertise, reduced in PvE. Restorative Mantras, now triggers when using an ammunition skill instead of when channeling a mantra. That's a great change, especially since their mantras work a little bit differently than Firebrand. Escape Artist, reduce the distortion duration. Wow. What is Escape Artist, and why is it 5 seconds? Huh. Yeah, that's a lot. This is the trait that's really cool, in my opinion, because it lets your phantasms actually get their attack off, essentially, if you cast it into a Zerg. But, so reducing it from 5 seconds down to 1.5 is, like, why was it 5, you know? Did they test that? I don't know. Maybe it's like, it's doing something it's not supposed to, and so it's getting chunked down a lot more. We have alacrity, reduce the alacrity recharge speed from 50% to 35 in World vs. World. This is the one that gives you increased recharge, so it makes your alacrity on yourself a little bit better. It's interesting that it only chunks it up 2% now, so rip whatever was using that. Probably some kind of crazy willbender like Necromancer build. Love time, reduced alacrity per clone. World vs. World sees the moment reversed quickness per clone. Interesting. I don't play World vs. World Chrono, so I'm unsure how these will impact things, but I know Chrono is very popular for leading Zergs, so maybe it needs to come down a little bit. Necromancer, pretty good spot in PvE. Consider some improvements for Power Harbingers. Oh, good. But we want to see where the build lands with the introduction of swords before we make any additional changes. See, this is why I like that this is a smaller patch, and I really appreciate when we get smaller patches, because it's literally better than nothing. So this is awesome. Infusion a trait that overperforms support builds in World vs. World, so we're making change similar to what we did in Path of Corruption. Trait will increase the cooldown of its regulated or related Scourge skill in World vs. That's fine. Res Scourge is still kind of ridiculous. Bit too harsh on Chrono. Yeah, it's a lot, Maddie, but we'll see. A lot of this is World vs. World, right? Like, this is World vs. World. This is World vs. World. I don't World vs. World on Chrono, so you may have a different opinion. Like, this hurts, but none of it's like, oh, we mechanically chunked the Clash out of viability like they did with Bladesworn, right? Not salty, you're salty. Anyway, Necromancer. Ranger, that's literally it. Transfusion. Oh. Okie dokie. Next, Ranger, condition-based quickness. Untamed is another build that's overperforming in terms of damage. Hell yeah, it is. Quickness Untamed builds can struggle with might generation for their allies, so we've added might to let loose, because that's the only trait they have. That's really weird. I wish they would put it somewhere else, but sure, whatever, fine. Maybe it'll be... Oh, it doesn't give it in World vs. World. Well, rip. Untamed. It's so weird that let loose doesn't grant might in World vs. World. Very strange. It doesn't grant quickness either. It grants, like, protection and 2 stacks of might or something. I'm going to make sure I have the right trait. Guildwars 2, let loose. I've been playing a lot of Ranger, but I don't know the Untames. Yeah, this is the one that grants quickness. That's important. It grants, like, 3 might. So it still only grants, like, 3 might for a Grandmaster in World vs. World and PvP. That's awful. How weird. Anyway, Slice, increase the power coefficient. Meanwhile, Willbender running around with, like, permanent alacrity, right? On a minor trait or on a major trait. Enduring Swing, increase the power coefficient. Power coefficient, power coefficient, power coefficient. On counterattack, kick, because that's part of your rotation, apparently. Barrage gets ammunition in World vs. World. This is kind of a big change. I'm being whispered questions. I'll answer that question that I'm being whispered after I'm finished with this balance preview. I don't know, Maddie, what do you think the problem with Chrono and World vs. World is? I don't see a problem with it, but maybe they do. It's probably, you know, they balance World vs. World around macro engagements, not roaming, so unclear. Maybe they can just summon a bunch of phantasms over and over, and that's why they're nerfing the distortion duration thing. Barrage, which is the 5 on Longbow, getting ammunition in World vs. World, kind of huge. Twin Darts. I love that they can split this now and give things ammunition in World vs. World versus not in PvE or vice versa. Devour Family. Weird, overperforming. Poisonous Cloud, I guess people found the overperforming pets. Sundering Volley, reduced bleed stacks, let loose, grants might in PvE. Interesting. Yeah, it's interesting, guys. I don't know. Revenant, in addition to toning down the damage power of Vindicator in PvE, let's get some more hype music. Made some minor adjustments to Axe to improve usability for condition builds. Always cool. The Axe kind of needs it. I think Offhand Sword is just kind of better Axe right now. Skill no longer inflicts slow, now inflicts torment. That's weird. Slow was good. I guess this is for PvE, whatever. Temporal Rift, reduce the time the rift takes to collapse. That's kind of good. It's a little bit long right now. Reduce the number of blast finishers from 3 to 1. Skill now also grants might to the user, so you no longer have to blast your field. Now you can just get extra might and get the blast. That's kind of cool. I wonder where the blast finisher actually is. Yeah, Arrow Cart Ranger build, Sergio. It's kind of interesting. Okay, so, and then Leviathan Strength reduces damage bonus in PvE. So, Chronomancer thing, I'm getting told that they are boon strip bots with a crap ton of utility, but they only nerfed heals and boons, which is not the point of Chrono at all. They've already nerfed Null Field a lot. No, I know the blast finisher on Mace 3, but it does multiple blast finishers right now. So, like, from 3 to 1. So I'm wondering which impact is actually going to be the blast finisher. Similar to how Scrapper, if you use the Hammer 3 jump, the first and the third one are leap finishers or blast finishers or whatever it is, but the middle one isn't anymore, although all 3 were on release. So I wonder which impact actually is the blast finisher. Probably the first one, so you have the chance of hitting that small fire field, right? Deadeye has been growing in popularity in PvP over the last few months. And what I was gonna start to say, sorry, Maddie, I'm all over the place. It's Friday. They already nerfed Null Field, and they already nerfed Boon Strip a bunch on Chrono in World versus World. So maybe they just don't want to do that anymore. Unclear. Thief. Deadeye's been growing in popularity for PvP over the last few months, and we've seen that it can be a bit too difficult to lock down for the damage it's capable of dealing, just like literally everything in PvP. We're increasing the initiative cost of Death's Advance to require a larger resource investment for the survivability that it provides. I should start doing PvP again, so I have an opinion on this. Skirmisher Shot, reduce the power coefficient, and Death's Advance, increase the initiative cost by a lot. Interesting. And then the moment you've all been waiting for, Warriors completely fixed, JK. Gets 2 notes. Warrior power-based quickness. Berserker is the final overperforming build that we're tackling in this update, shifting a bit more power away from Bloody Roar onto Blood Reaction to create a larger damage trade-off with the quickness build, which is totally fine with me. Blood Reaction increasing precision and ferocity, and Bloody Roar reduces the damage bonus, which is multiplicative and finally working. Scourge, here we go again. Yeah, Scourge is already good. I'm fine with all of this. I love, like I said, my immediate half second of thought about it. I don't play Chrono. Maddie might be right. They may have not addressed the actual overperforming things on it in World versus World, but they also may have addressed the overperforming things built in World versus World, and they may want it to be a strip bot, so who knows. Warrior changes, fine. I like to see that this is split. It's a little bit of PvE, a little bit of World versus World, that they're holding off on big changes until the weapons come out. I am, above all, obviously concerned for the future of Bladesworn because it is an actual trash dumpster fire right now, but I don't want that fixed in some kind of tiny patch like this. I would like them to actually rework the entire class, so maybe we'll get that. That bias aside, this is really good. I like when they do small balance patches. It shows that they're thinking, working, and actually doing stuff and care. And then I also like that they left this open for comments. So, for better or worse, this is really solid. I think a lot of this is needed, especially this Guardian change. I really like this, but let me know what you think. Let me know any insight I might have, because I cannot main every class. I can just tell you what I main, and I like the 2 notes for Warrior. But yeah, that's gonna do it for patch notes. Let's go see where we are in this queue. Cheers.